This is episode 287 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dion Morales, and today I'm joined by Marcel. I actually played a casual event in person, like with toys and plastic things and people, like other people. Monzano.
That did not sound anything like me. Like me.
Well, you didn't give me any direction outside of that, and I will try better next time.
Keep at it.
Will, the boys are back in town. Hakewood.
Lock S foils in attack position.
And Ryan, I played Empire. I never play Empire. Staniszewski.
It's a very weird thing to be packing up Empire stuff to play. I never do that.
It's like, what is this? What is this? All right. Well, today's podcast, of course, brought to you by our GSP patron. Becoming a patron makes you a part of our large group of supporters here at Gold Squadron. Patrons have access to our Patreon-only channels and Discord, and depending on what level you are, you get different gifts. We send out 4 waves of gifts a year, and we do them in 2 shipments. Next one coming up in January. Our next set features the Resistance, our heroic squadron, as well as our slightly modified plan for our holiday card. It's no longer going to be Jingle Jingle Wampa, but it will be 3 TIE Fighter pilots with a twist. You'll see. Anyway, so today, we after having like 2 weeks straight of like a bunch of spoilers, early spoilers for things and events, just like all this stuff kind of being dumped, this week feels very calm compared to the fire hose of content we've had over the last couple of weeks. So we have we have some topics today that are neither spoiler based or event based. So let's jump into it. I first want to talk about the Isophane Initiative. Will, can you remind the people what the Isophane Initiative was?
Isophane is essentially bringing together the community to get players to Worlds through some donations and some sort of, I don't know how to describe them, but essentially fundraising to get players out to Worlds. There's been a bunch of people who have applied, and it sounds like we got a geographic breakdown of who were able to get those funds.
That's right. So Isophane said the total raised was $13,500. That is a chunk of change for sure. And they were able to help out 18 people from around the world. Ryan, you want to go ahead and give me that geographic breakdown?
All right, we have Australia with 3, we have Brazil with 2, Canada with 1, Germany with 1, Sweden with 2, United Kingdom with 7, and USA with 2. Wide range across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say absolutely amazing. And I know that Isophane said like there were other people who applied as well, and It's one of those where anytime you do a good thing, the first thing you think of is like, man, I wasn't able to help everybody, but I want to be on the end of being like, hey, a lot was done. So even though there were people who didn't benefit from this, there's still 18 people were able to make it that normally wouldn't have, which is absolutely amazing. I think that's super awesome. And that Isoplane Initiative absolutely did what his goal was, and that was being able to bring a bunch of people to the Chicagoland area for Worlds in March for Adepticon. Speaking of that, I want to tell you one of the questions that I'm getting a lot in my inbox the last couple days, my friends, with people starting to be like, oh yeah, there's a Lance Chance qualifier. I feel like that announcement has kind of pushed people into like seriously considering coming, because like, ooh, I have a chance. Of course, what was the first question, Will, that people started saying after, like, oh yeah, last chance qualifier? It was, what's it gonna be, right?
Well, they were saying
Oh,
when.
of course.
Oh
Not
yeah,
what, when.
When?
Because they want to know, do they have to come on the 22nd or the 23rd? I mean, that one day is a big difference.
It's absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
DEFCON starts on Wednesday, normally.
That sounds right.
I don't remember them actually having events though on Wednesday. That's kind of like
No.
a registration day, I thought.
It's a registration day.
That's okay.
Yeah. If you plan for Thursday, you're going to be good. If you want to roll that dice and plan for Friday, I don't know if I would do that.
I wouldn't recommend it. I would plan to be there for Thursday, Friday,
Yeah.
Saturday.
And then, of course, because I had people asking me, oh, Dion, when's going to be the LCQ? I don't know. I don't know. I have not gotten information on that, either officially or unofficially. And trust me, once I know, I will let you know. I'm not ashamed. I'm not under an NDA. I'll tell you what I know as soon as I know it when it comes to that. But Marcel, the next piece of information that people are asking is, what do I do? What can I do in quote unquote Chicago? Now I have to put that quote unquote Chicago because reasons. Can you explain my quote unquote, Mr. Marcel?
Yeah. So, 1 second. Cough. All right. So I live in Chicago, like in the center of Chicago. Dion lives in Chicago, in the vicinity, not in the vicinity,
In the border of the Chicago.
Not even in the border, in the city
Right.
limits of Chicago. We are both. I am about an hour and 15 minutes away from Schaumburg. You're probably about what, 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why Chicago. You're in Chicagoland area extends all the way out. Chicago has 3 million people. The Chicagoland area has about 6.5 million. Or actually, it's getting closer to 8. So it just shows you. When people talk about Chicago, like more than half of the time they're not talking. So you're about an hour away from Chicago. Having said that, Schaumburg is a really nice city. They don't have a whole ton of stuff to do. I mean, they've got bars, restaurants, the regular old. You're going to be at a convention center, so you're probably going to be doing nerd stuff with nerd people in nerd locations. So you're probably going to be okay. But if you're taking a long trip and you're coming in from Summerfar and it's like your first time to quote unquote Chicago, especially if you're coming in from overseas or you're one of the 16 people or 18 people, because I assume the 2 people from the United States are not close by. So you're one of the 18 people that are coming in or coming in for the first time. If you really want to see Chicago, plan for a couple days before or after because there is a metro, so you could stay where you're staying and the metro will take you from where you are. It's pretty cheap, actually. It's like a $15-20. It's like a $15 train ride. So you can take like a $10-15 train ride from Schaumburg to Chicago in an hour 15. I think the last trains run like at 11 p.m., but it gives you enough time to come in early in the morning, actually see the city, see the museum, see by the end of March, the weather is probably in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Like it can range from like
Big time.
from snowing to t-shirt and shorts. Like it ranges. But you can definitely, you're definitely going to have to plan an extra day or two if you actually want to see Chicago, which I recommend. And if you do come to Chicago by the end of March, the architecture tour will be open. That's probably like $100. No, actually, it even goes down to like $75. It's a $75 boat ride that takes you through the Chicago River. It takes you, starts downtown by Navy Pier. It takes you down to the south side. It takes you to the north side. And it's kind of like when you go to Paris and you go to like the River Seine tour, and it shows you all the architecture and they explain what all the buildings mean and stuff like that, or who created them. Really cool tour. But you want to do those kind of things. You want to separate a different day and not the day that you're coming in to register. Don't say, well, I'm coming in Wednesday. We're playing Thursday. Because when you come in Wednesday, you got to prepare for your jet lag. You got to prepare for standing an hour and a half, 2 hours in line to get your badges, and then 2-3 hours for dinner, and then hugging people that you haven't seen ever or in forever for another. That's probably like 6 hours worth of hugs. So
At least.
plan on some time to make it to Chicago, but. Another way, if you don't want to make it all the way into Chicago, but you still want to get kind of like a Chicago vibe, you can make it out to Rosemont, which is probably only like 20-30 minutes away from Schaumburg, and that's by O'Hare Airport. And I don't know, there's a lot of cool stuff. You get like a lot of the Chicago vibe there as well.
The touristy stuff has been built up there. For sure. One of my recommendations, again, it depends on when you get in, but if you have an extra day, I'm personally a huge fan of the Art Institute of Chicago. Like I love spending time there. I could just sit for hours and just look at all these different paintings if you're into it. I'm really a big fan of that. If you like museums, Museum in Science and Industry is really fun. I prefer the Field Museum over it, but again, it just depends on what you like if you're into that. But yeah, the Art Institute is my number one pick. But again, that's all the way into the city. That's like down the street from Marcel type of thing. All right, you also
get the Lincoln Park Zoo is free.
Yes, Lincoln Park Zoo is free.
It's beautiful because it's right on the lake. It's free to get in. And it's Lincoln Park Zoo for a reason because it's actually a park. So it's a park that goes across. It's just in the north side of the Lincoln Park neighborhood, which is one of the nicest neighborhoods in Chicago. So great area. You get to see the lake. You get to see animals. It's free, and it's maybe like a 10-minute Uber ride to all these other museums that Dion is talking about.
And that's the other part. You got to figure out your transportation, right? Are you taking public transit? Are you planning on taking Ubers and Lyfts? Are you bringing your own vehicle? How does parking work? All that.
Don't take public transit. You can take the metro. Take the metro. Like if you're coming from Schaumburg to the city and it's going to drop you off at Union Station or something like that.
Yeah,
that's fine. Don't take the elevated train. Because it's very easy to get on the wrong L.
Correct.
And end up in the L.
Yeah, with a big L.
Yeah, like you don't want to end up in there are spots. It is still Chicago. They call it Chirac for a reason. Like
don't scare them, Marcel.
I'm just telling you,
don't scare them.
Don't do unless you know where you're going. Don't do the public transportation, the public orange line, the elevated train. If you're doing the elevated train, know where you're getting on and know where you're getting off.
Correct.
Because it's really easy to
correct.
Not be so jolly.
It's true. I also would recommend for if you're not, especially if you've never ridden public transit like that. The other thing that can happen on the L is you have more than one train in certain parts, that more than one line that ends up on the same track. Because you're like, oh, this is where the blue line goes. Like, well, actually, blue, green, brown, yellow, all on the same track. And you got to know which one you just be smart, guys. You'll be fine. But yeah, if you have anything specific, you will, feel free to, you can ask us. We'll do the best we can. When it comes to food, now, Will, you're in Chicago a lot. You've taken Alyssa lots of dates and perused around Chicago. What you got a favorite spot or a spot where you're like, man, the food there, that was scrumdiddly.
I mean, the Chicago favorite, Portillo's. Last time I was there, I forgot what I ordered. Like I literally ordered it, and then I was just like, I'll take whatever that is. And I forgot that that's the sandwich that they put the sausage in with the meat.
Yeah.
Man, that's fantastic. I don't know about downtown. I went to the Hancock building. What is it, the 96 or something like
the
that?
signature room?
The signature room is the
No,
steakhouse.
I didn't make a reservation. No,
Okay, the
we
signature.
were trying to just sit by a window.
Then you went to, I think it's called 96.
Yeah, 96.
When you go to
that makes more
96,
sense.
it's free to get
That
in, but
building's
you have
a
to get in
lot
line.
smaller than what I thought it was gonna be. Like
Smaller? Or
like the
lower?
block that it takes up. I don't know.
Well, it's because the building goes like this. It's wide and it's like the Eiffel Tower. Like it gets shorter as you get higher. So by the time you get to the very top, to the 96th floor, and by the way, it's a bar. The 96 is a bar. They don't have bar food. They do have like actual food as well.
Yeah.
They got bar food, but they also got like actual meals. Their drinks are amazing. Kayla and I go there pretty often just because you don't have to have a reservation. You don't have to pay to go up. Like if you go to the Sears Tower or the Willis Tower to get the city view, it's like $50 to get up there. You go to the Hancock, you go up for free. And if you don't want to pay, you just get yourself a glass of water, but their drinks are amazing. Sorry, well, I cut you off. I like that place.
No, I would say the same thing.
All right. So, I mean, and then I know one of the things that always comes up is like, oh, should I get the pizza? And this is I think, Marcel, I feel like this has become a complicated question because it used to be like, hey, get yourself, like, deep dish is a like thing that Chicagoland area is known for, but I feel like Giordano's specifically has gone like nationwide. Like they're everywhere now. So it's not as special. But if you're in the States for the first time and you don't have access to a Giordano's, could be an interesting. I would tell you, it's just good food. I'll be down for deep dish at any time. Like, sure, bread with cheese, let's go.
As someone who's been to Chicago a few times, has been to that restaurant, and has had that pizza.
He did quotes.
They call it a pie.
That is not deep dish pizza. That is a pie.
There you go.
Legitimately.
Pizza pie.
That is a true pizza pie.
It's like a casserole. It's a pizza casserole.
Yeah, realistically, they try and sell you as a deep dish pizza. If you want like a real deep dish pizza, you need the Detroit style. And I'm not saying that just because I am from the area. Detroit style deep dish pizza is the premier deep dish pizza.
I've heard that one called. What was it called? Shoot, I'm gonna have to look it up. I heard another word for the Detroit style, and it wasn't called deep dish. They called it something else.
You look it up.
It has like crispy edges on the outside and things. It's not pan style.
Detroit style pan pizza recipe. Detroit style pizza. Other names?
Please hold.
See, a Detroit style by any other name would taste. Oh no, that's just like a saying.
Anyway, I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. But yeah. So when it comes to Chicago, the actual style of pizza that like another style of pizza that Chicago's known for is called tavern style pizza. At least that's what I've known it by, and that's the very very thin crust. It's very not as fancy focaccia bread. All right, essentially is what it is. But yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. It looks like Nutano threw us a link here. Chicago pizza versus Detroit pizza. Very good. Very good article.
Then they got the Green Lantern pizza. The Green Lantern's a real good pizza place in our area.
Speaking of Detroit, super random. Ryan, I got to talk to you. I might have a composing gig in Detroit. Are you anywhere near Detroit?
Like, tell me where in Detroit, and I'll tell you how far away I live from there.
I don't know. They're like, we're in Detroit. I'm like, cool. I know a guy in Michigan. I have friends there. I don't know. Michigan's a big state.
If you let me know the building or the name of the place that it's supposed to be at.
Cool. We'll talk later. Anyway, stuff you want to do in Chicago? There you go. Somebody said, I hear you can get some authentic Puerto Rican tostones in Chicago. It's true, but I don't know.
You got to make it out to like Humboldt Park or something, right?
Right. I'm trying to think. Where's a safe place?
Well, just have a friend.
Have a friend. Don't go by yourself.
Yeah,
Go in a group.
Have a friend. Yeah,
You'll be fine.
They do have some really good.
Actually,
they have some good. Yeah, some good Boricua food around here.
If you want to get some really good Puerto Rican food and you want to be super close to my house and you're coming here on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, I will meet you there. The restaurant called Ponce. Amazing. I'll meet you. Be like, Dion, we'll be there Tuesday. Like, let's go.
Yeah. So
all right.
let's actually just add to that a little bit. So Chicago is a melting pot. It's a literal melting pot. It's like New York in that regard. So if you want Cuban food, they have an amazing Cuban place here. If you want Greek food, they have Greek Town. They have, of course, Italian everywhere. We have a Vietnamese area. Everybody has a Chinatown, so I think Chinatown. It's kind of a given. We do have close to Schaumburg a Japanese region. So if you want like so there's a little bit of everything. So no matter which type of food you want, you'll be able to find something that's good and pretty close to authentic. Because again, it's just such a melting pot. And then if anybody else wants any additional, like very specific specialties, whether it's something that's like a hole in the wall that's like famous only to the underground, only to the locals that have been here, or if you want something that's upscale, you come in with a special somebody and you're celebrating something and you want something that's one of the Michelin places or something like that we'd recommend. I would say hit me or Dion up. And we're more than happy to point you in the right way.
That's right. You can never go wrong with Smoke Barbecue, by the way. SOMOQUE. My Sunday night place. Somebody on Facebook tagged me. It was like, I know Dion's at Smoke on Sundays. It was great. Anyway.
Well, speaking of that, too, so say you were planning to come a little earlier to enjoy some of the stuff before the event. I'm always a large proponent that very likely the cut of the X-Wing event is going to be on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
If you can, try and have your flight out or the day you're leaving be Monday. Give yourself extra time if you can. I'm not saying it's a must and you have to, but I can't tell you how much better it feels to like just enjoy that day, whether you're play and maybe get cut out early because you lost, or maybe you go all the way. Who knows? Like not having to worry about traveling that night because you got to make a plane, and you can just have fun and enjoy the festivities of the finals of the event, whether you're in it or not. And then for the night out later is always really good on that one too. So if you can leave Monday morning, Monday midday, try and go for that.
Yeah. 100% agreed. So there's your Planning for Worlds session of the day. We're going to move on now to our next topic. So in the rush to talk about all of these new cards, we never really got to analyze, break down, talk about the Battle of Yavin scenario. From the four of us, Ryan's the only one that has played it. So what I'm doing essentially is I want to take an opportunity to talk about it with you, our audience, but also I want to learn more about it because I've been a little busy. And I would like to take some time to talk about it because I think it looks like something fun to do. Do we know, are there any places online where the rules for this are? Have we seen
Infinite Arenas has some of the condition cards related to it. Let's check Yasby because they if you didn't know, I was reminded of this recently. Yasby has a rules section besides just the card browser. I don't know if it has scenario rules though. Or otherwise, I can grab my pack, which is right over there too. But I know it doesn't help you show it to the people.
That's all right.
Let's see, does the X-Wing Wikipedia?
They did pull up the attack run in Yahoo conditions in an article, but it doesn't go over anything else. So I think attack run kind of explains what you're supposed to be doing in this scenario, though.
Yeah, most of it's taken care of there. There's a couple other small rules that I remember doing when I played it that may not be listed in
Hey,
some of the resources.
not even joking. Anybody at home right now, if you have those rules right there, if you could open it, snap a picture, send it to me on Discord. That'd be great. Haven't been able to find a digital copy of it. But yeah, because I want to talk about the Battle of Yavin. It sounds like a good.
in the world.
That's
It
his
sounds
desk.
like you're putting missiles in the chute or something.
Dun dun.
Sorry, I put the Yavin.
Nutano's sending me a Google Drive link. All right, sweet. Because when I went to go pick up mine 3 times at this point, it hasn't been available. So, big sad on my part. But shout out to Nutano1 who says, I'm sending you a G Drive link. Appreciate you, fam. Boom.
Man,
there it is.
This is like...
I need access. I'm requesting access. Make it public.
That's a very large, like... Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
Saw it all.
All right, so just some context on how I played it. I played it with 3 other people. We actually split it up as like a 2v2, where there was a team Rebels and there was a team Empire. You don't have to do it this way. It's not even said in the rules is the way you're supposed to do it, but I think it was a pretty good experience first time around. Myself and my friend Jeremy, we played as Empire. I basically took the Black Squadron half of it, where I was Vader and a bunch of TIE fighters. He took all the Sigma Squadron interceptors. And for the Rebels, I played against Kyle, who took the Red Squadron X-Wings minus Biggs, just for how points played out and what they wanted to bring. And then Richard took all the Y-Wings available. So they actually didn't take Han. So the whole Yahoo thing, they didn't decide to bring that.
All right.
You don't have to. So for the basis of that, it was, I mean, we didn't really like talk to each other too much in terms of like, you know, oh, what are you dialing? What are you dialing? We were just kind of like, we're worried about our own squad. If we run into each other, we go, oh, that happened, type of thing. Not that we were forbidden to talk to each other, but just how it rolled. So when you set up, if you want to go scroll down a little bit there, yeah, you have your specific deployment zones. So as you can see, it's not the standard, like you get the entire range 1 of your board edge. You get range 1, and if you're rebels, so if you're from the rebel board edge perspective, you're going to be on the right hand side of your board edge, range 5 distance, and then range 1 up. So you get a smaller square in your corner. The trench is range 3 from the board edge of the Empire, so it's a little bit more on their side. Rebels have to go attack it. You're given that cardboard out of the pack. It's really actually well done. It's very simple, just puzzle piece itself, one end to the other, until you get the whole thing. It's got little dotted lines to help guide you where your nubs should line up with your ship when it does decide to go in for the Rebels. And you just need to know the distance of what straight maneuver you're doing. We'll get into why it has to be a straight, because it's basically in the rules that way. So when you deploy, the Rebels had the option, if they wanted to assign the Yahoo condition, to assign it to a large base ship that would stay in reserves until an X round where they would come in. The Empire has to choose 3 ships to put in reserves, and they will also come in specifically on turn 3, which is the same turn where ships can start going into the trench. So you cannot actually have a Rebel ship go into the trench until the end of turn 3. Yeah, they wanted to have a little bit of the fighting, and then you go in. To have a Rebel ship to be able to go into that trench, they have to be overlapping the trench. So there's kind of an initial mad dash to kind of control an area where the Rebels can jump in, and any ship can do it. The Y-Wings, the X-Wings, Any small ship can do it. Falcon cannot jump in and start doing a trench run.
Right.
A little big.
Is the and again I haven't been able to get my hands on it yet. Is the track for the trench how like wide is that in reference to like a small base?
Well, I would say looking at this, I would say it has I think the width of a big base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that looks about right. Yeah.
If you see the dotted lines, that's where your maneuver template straight would occur.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's about as wide as a big base.
Okay. Very cool.
That's why it doesn't fit, because the walls right here, big base no fit.
Baby, ka-chong, 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 ka-chong.
And yeah, you like this is. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 total pieces used to make the entire trench all the way down to the exhaust port at the end.
Nice. You gotta fire that proton torpedo. All right, so let's
Advanced proton torpedoes. That's the other thing. You have to be to be able to make the attack run. You have to be a small base ship with advanced proton or proton torpedoes. Now, with how the standardized loadouts were built, it definitely sort of gives yourself an idea of what are the best ships available to do this based upon the attack run condition, which is, I don't know if that's actually in your sheet, but it is on Infinite Arenas, or it is in there?
Yep.
Right, cool. The PDF there. So, do you want me to read the whole thing specifically, or just kind of pickpocket stuff out of there?
Sure, go ahead. You can pick stuff.
So, you're assigned the condition when you're assigned the condition, which is when a ship enters the trench. You acquire lock in the exhaust port regardless of range. So you in the trench, you have a lock. You're starting your lock to attack the exhaust port. It cannot be broken or removed until the attack run condition is removed. And it can be broken by or spent only to reroll attack dice during attacking the exhaust port, or to refresh force. So a little bit for Luke. When you're in the trench, only straight maneuvers. If you would execute a non-straight, you have to do a 2 straight instead, and take it to fleet. You cannot move or be moved except by executing your maneuver or performing a boost with the straight template. So the Biggs, Wedge, and Luke, who have attack speed, works really well for them to be able to do a straight maneuver and then do a boost straight for free and then still get their action. While they're in the trench, any ship that's not overlapping the trench cardboard itself will basically, it's treated like obstructed, where the defender will have an additional agility die when they're defending. So unless those ships are also in the trench with them or overlapping, the defenders can be harder to hit, especially if you're Luke with, so then you have 3 agility. Range bonuses still occur, so if you're range 3 obstructed, basically Luke really, really hard to hit. But the ship doing the attack run will engage in initiative 0. So that it's not like being I-5 or
You got no advantage there.
No advantage, right? You're in there. Everyone's given the chance to wail on you before you make the final run through, which I think is cool. Because once you are in those X-Wings, Luke, Wedge, or Biggs, and that attack speed is going, they move. If you don't have a way to force them to slow down a little bit, they only need about a turn or two to, 2 to 3 at the most to make it all the way over. So you can only attack, as I said, the exhaust port with the proton torpedo or advanced proton torpedo. Range of that attack still matters. So if you have advanced, you need to be range 1. If you have proton, you need to be range 2 to 3. Before attacking, you may break the lock in the exhaust port to refresh all your inactive force charges. So if for any reason you would rather take a instinctive aim shot instead of a regular proton torpedo shot from them, you could do that on the more thematic end of things. After attacking the exhaust port, if your maneuver would cause you to leave, so if you have no more room, you can't go straight anymore, you then must exit the trench. By what maneuver, whatever you can do to still stay on the board is my guess.
The hard turn.
It won't force you to leave the board of the game.
Okay. So here I
During
got
the
to.
end phase, you can choose to exit the trench if you are not completely overlapping the trench. Remove the condition.
All right, so I got a couple of questions just because the first couple things come to mind. So when you jump into the trench, do you start all the way on one end, regardless of where you enter?
You start at the beginning. You're making the full run, whether you are base touching like the exhaust port end. You start at the back. They make you do the full run.
They make you do the full trench run. I mean that makes sense because the first thing I thought, I was like, what? Okay, what if I just come right here, bank in? All right, I'm overlapping, make the shot, and then get out. All right, you do have to actually survive the run.
Yes.
Ooh, okay, crazy. So there's actually that's Robert Kreider is right. So you do have a bit of a fast travel ability in this. So if mind you, of course, you're setting up the rebel deployment is on the side of the board where the trench run begins, right?
Yes.
So you have this kind of jump ability. So let's talk a little bit about the squad you have to bring here. Will. Squad building. How's it, if you're playing one-on-one, how's this supposed to work?
You have to choose a squad that has between 4 and 10 ships. They can total up to 35 squad points. The Imperials can only have small base ships, can't have bombs, because bombing the trench would seem really good. Ion bombing the trench just seems smart, throw some counter nets in there. So maybe not. But the rebels cannot include medium ships. What's a medium base rebel ship? U-Wing, I guess?
U-Wing,
K-Wing. Oh, the ARCs. Okay, fair enough. And may include up to 1 large ship.
Very cool. So it says one of the parts here at the top says the narrative scenario is designed and balanced around the standard loadout cards included in the Battle of Yavin pack. If both players agree, squads may include other ships and upgrades. The scenario squad building rules are as follows. So if you want to go crazy, you could be like extended Battle of Yavin, alternate universe version.
Yeah, we were trying to after the game. We were trying to think of all right, what other rebel ships have torpedoes that could be a better attack run than these X-Wings. They are pretty good. Sabine A-Wing gets a torpedo.
Oh, wait, does Hera as well? Or does she only get the missile? That must be the A-Wing I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Sabine A-Wing gets a torpedo.
Okay.
Did the Y-Wings ever get in the trench to try to do the attack run?
In our game, no, but I've seen plenty of people post online that, they had a Y-Wing go in the trench and actually made the complete run to destroy them.
Nice!
If they're distracted by Wedge and Luke, maybe Dutch pulls it off.
It's definitely the least optimal, that's for sure. Because, Luke can speed down there and he's got force in the lock. Regular proton torpedo. So if he whiffs one, as long as he's got other charge left, he can just do a 1 straight slow down and try again.
Now, Marcel, looking at these squad building rules, if you're playing as rebels, what do you have any ideas of maybe what you'd be grabbing?
4 to 10 ships with 35 points.
Hi, Kayla.
They said hello because they know you're messing with me. Anyway, 4 to 10 ships with 35 points. I'd probably be going for the Battle of Yavin ones that already have the torpedoes on there. Just by hearing
the value,
Ryan,
right?
Well, yeah, just by hearing Ryan say that, Wedge, Biggs, and Luke seem to be the best suited for that, especially with that free boost. And other than that, I don't know. I'd probably try to get 10 ships in there.
You would try to go for all 10?
I would probably go for the numbers, yeah.
Oh, trying to get some A-Wings, trying to get Aaron Kraken in there?
Yeah, get some Z95s. I mean, you don't have to go with just Battle of Yavin stuff. You can throw some Z95s in there. Hey, might even throw the little Rebel TIE fighters in there. I don't know. Just find some 3-pointers in there.
Stole one just before the fight.
Yoink, this is mine. I mean,
I would say the first time you play it, do just the cards from the pack, and then you'll see beyond, like, what else is interesting.
Sure.
I actually think it'd be really funny. I haven't heard of anyone doing this yet, but if the Empire had first player in one of the later rounds, and Jack Porkins is making the run, and they kill him in I-4, but lets him do his like straight move to get the range 1 advanced proton torpedo kill on the Death Star, so he full sacrifices himself but gets the job done.
I can hold it. I love it. Marcel, listen, I'm home. Let's plan a day to do this. I want to play this.
I told you. I said, tell me when.
Hit me up.
I ordered it on from that store I went yesterday. Here in Wicker Park.
Yeah.
They said it. I ordered it from them, so they ordered it for me. So I should have it maybe within by next week.
All right, let's do it. I'm home.
Yeah, let's do it.
All righty. So for the Rebel squads, cannot include medium ships, but may include up to 1 large ship. So large ship for Rebels, we have, of course, in the pack, we have the YT-2400. Pause. 1300. Other options include what, Will?
You got the Ghost and the 2400 Dash Rendar, the Outrider. Well, there's no obstacles, A, for Dash. But B, Kanan would actually be pretty useful in this. He could protect people in the trench as well from being
at range
destroyed.
2? But no. Nope.
Yeah, but no. Protect my friend.
That's right. On the Imperial side, though, so what did you end up bringing for the Empire side, Ryan?
So I had these are all Yavin here: Vader, Backstabber, Mauler, Wampa, and then the last ship, because I only had 3 points, there was another 3-point TIE fighter from Yavin available. We just said I could just pick another 3-point TIE fighter that's from the custom stuff, and I just went with Iden.
Cool. I mean, that makes sense.
Because we wanted to let the other half of the Empire just be all the interceptors, so we just didn't have the points up to put in another 3-point Yavin ship.
Oh, okay. So you did one person was TIE fighters, one person was interceptors?
Yeah, like I said, since we did 2v2, we broke up, and he did the Sigma Squadron interceptors, and then I did Black Squadron, as in like Vader and his TIE fighters.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. So how many points did you guys end up? Did you end up being at 35?
Yeah, I think it was about 35 flat.
Nice. Awesome. All right, so let's keep scrolling down here. Scenario setup. We talked about that a little bit. That trench being set up, range 3 from the Imperial side, and you have that 5x1 area. Then we get into the nitty gritty here. Placing forces. First, the Rebel player may assign the Yahoo condition to 1 friendly large ship, and the Imperial player must choose 3 small ships from their squad list and place them in reserve. All right, so that's an auto. You don't have these 3 ships until later.
Yep, and we ended up kind of splitting up. So I kept Mauler and Backstabber out. I didn't want to leave Vader also out because they didn't have a large ship that they brought to Yahoo. So they had all their ships available at the first turn. So we didn't want to take back Vader out of the fight. And then Jeremy kept one of the interceptors out. So 1 interceptor, and then the duo of Mauler Backstabber kept out.
And who ended up winning your guys' game?
The Rebels won. Vader ate up a bunch of Y-Wings. Mauler, Backstabber, and Wampa did a number on Wedge as well with the interceptors. but Luke snuck in with a hopeful boost to get onto the trench, like hopeful boosted over a TIE fighter to get onto the trench. And then once he was there, we looked around, we're like, we're not in a good position to chase him down here. And he just ran all the way across in about like 3 turns and delivered the proton torpedo kill to the Death Star.
Nice. All right, and it looks like there is a turn count in the scenario. Right? At the end, it says here, for victory, Rebel player wins immediately if the Death Star is destroyed. Of course, it's happening at Initiative 0, right? That's when that shot's happening, so it'd be essentially the end of a turn. During the end phase, the Imperial player wins if all the Rebel ships have been destroyed. That makes sense. Seems unlikely, but it can happen. And then at the end of the 9th round, the Death Star commences primary ignition, and the Imperial player wins. So there's no timer for this. It's just play.
Oh yeah, I mean this isn't competitive, so I mean they want this scenario to come to a conclusion. Whether it's and because the theme of the Death Star getting its shot off, like there is a time/round limit. It's like you only have this many rounds to get the job done, otherwise you lose. Gone. Empire wins.
So this is a great scenario to use those. If you haven't used one of those like turn counters that people have, I know I have a nice curled paw one that is the Death Star. It'd be a nice piece to use it. Man, 9 rounds. How many rounds did you guys get through? Do you remember?
Let me count. So after the 3rd round, when Mauler Backstabber came in, I'd say 6 at the most.
All right, let's see. We got some players in the chat who had some experience playing. So this is from Spike Fire Pew. He says we found that Vader had to deploy right at full range 1, and the ties with him need to drag behind. Otherwise, it leaves room for the large base Rebel ship to get in behind them. Ooh. Sneaky.
Yeah, for the Yahoo. We didn't have to worry about the Yahoo, but we also had to worry about every Rebel ship in the field being there, and we had to leave some ships in reserve. So it's not like we didn't have our own problems to solve. But yeah, I can see how Yahoo, you'd have to like worry about how badly am I going to get flanked by a whole Falcon here.
Right. Now, what is this here? I have you now. What is that?
I'll say if you to kind of sell this as a reason why you should play this. I don't think I've ever felt so Star Wars-y of an experience in a long time than this scenario. It hits everything very well. It definitely feels like the hero characters who got the job done in the movies are the best ones to do the job in this scenario. It feels really cool to have, even though I had to keep some of the Empire ships out of reserve, it felt really cool when they came in just screaming by with the afterburners with Mauler and Backstabber trying to find a target and mow it down. We didn't get the Yahoo experience, but I'm pretty sure even that would notch it up another level to make it feel like the Battle of Yavin. And I think the trench mechanics are all very well done. There's some people who've posted online about like how some things might be able to be slowed down a bit, like if the Empire list like overdoes blocking and slows down the trench runs, it doesn't feel as themey that way. But I mean, you have to really go out of your way, I think, to set that up in a not feels good experience. Right. I think by that time you've played this scenario a couple times to like figure out how to do it and optimize it, which I don't think it's what this is really meant for. This is meant to just kind of like put the scenario down, have fun, and enjoy the Battle of Yavin. It's like in the feel of the Star Wars battle that it was, and trying to capture it. So if you're feeling ever burnt out trying to tweak your competitive list or figure out what you're going to play in the next event, but you still want to play X-Wing and you want to have a good time, play Battle of Yavin. It worked out really well.
That's cool. Yeah, I want this. This is right up my alley. What I need right now. I wanna play this. So let's talk about that. So technically, bumping rules do work the same way in this as it does in the quote unquote standard game, which is why I did see that question come up in the chat as well. How does that all work? So I think you had mentioned there is like a defensive bonus or something like that if you're in the trench.
Yeah, if you are in the trench and the other ship attacking you isn't also overlapping the trench cardboard, you get 1 additional agility, as if it was like obstructed.
Got it. Okay.
But I'm not applying the rules for anything obstructed related if you were to bring in other ships that like with trick shot or something like that.
Right.
It doesn't say in the rules as obstructed. I'm using as an example. It's like how it would feel when you're playing. You shoot into someone in the trench. It's hard to shoot them in the trench because they're inside the wall, whatever. So
right, it's this idea of that you're like thinking in 3-dimensional space. You have a trench here, and this other ship is kind of coming from above or from an angle, not directly actually like behind you.
Like they're like, oh, but what if I just come straight from above and look down? Well, my guess is if you were coming straight above looking down, you're like a lame duck in the air for anyone to shoot out of the sky.
This is true.
So that's why everything was like at an angle, and it'd be more difficult to shoot someone in the trench.
All right, cool. So then we talked a little bit about the attack run already, the exhaust port. What is this right here? So it says, can only be attacked with proton torpedoes or advanced proton torpedoes. While attacking the exhaust port, you may spend 2 force to change a focus to a crit. While attacking the exhaust port. Oh, okay. This is what I missed. This line right here. Will, what is this very important line right here to actually destroy the Death Star?
The exhaust port is a scenario feature. It can be destroyed only as a result of an attack that has by a ship that has been assigned the attack run condition. Ships cannot perform lock actions, blah, blah, blah. But the exhaust port can only be attacked by those proton torpedoes and advanced proton torpedoes. You can even spend 2 force, change an eyeball to a crit, but while attacking the exhaust port, if the attack dice show at least 2 crits, the Death Star is destroyed because these torpedoes do give a natural crit. So really emphasizing Luke turning off his targeting computer to get all that force back.
And that's what I was thinking about. It's like, wait, well, it hadn't quite clicked why you were saying Luke is the best. I was like, well, you have the single crit.
I think Wedge gets marksmanship. He should be able to get 2 crits as well.
People were trying to figure out whether or not, because marksmanship as a card says when attacking a ship. It's not a ship, but I'm pretty sure they made the standard card. I believe the intent was that Wedge had another way to do it. It just came from a hit to a crit and not an eyeball. Mm-hmm. Or whatever. It's Wedge can do it second best.
Or he can't because actually he wussed out at the Battle of Yavin and left.
There's that. I mean, hey, if he would have kept it in his bullseye, he might have done it.
He might have.
He just like Vader scared him too much. I mean, I'd be concerned.
Same. All right, cool. All right, that's absolutely awesome, and as always, super sweet art. Thank you to anybody who actually tested this, all the peeps down there. Battle of Yavin.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna reserve my thanks until after I play it.
True.
So maybe in the next week or 2, we'll get together and either thank them. Or
come back and complain for an hour and a half.
I'll say that the results of this have me excited to see how the Siege of Coruscant works.
I'm curious what the goal is. So in the movie, you were saving Palpatine, right? From the Separatists?
You were trying to attack the Invisible Hand capital ship, which is Grievous's capital ship, enough to break the shields to get into the hangar bay for Obi-Wan and Anakin to save Palpatine. I believe they talked about it on a stream. There's already like kind of a preview image of like the cardboard of the Invisible Hand itself. as a scenario feature cardboard to exist on the mat.
Do
But
you
they
get
talked
to?
about at some point, like once Anakin and Obi land in the ship, there's like a small mini game built into it to make sure they actually got Palpatine out, or how long it takes them to get out before their Adas can come back out of the hangar and join the fight to leave, or however it works in some capacity.
Right. That's what I was gonna ask next. Like, do you get to crash the invisible hand into Coruscant?
Yeah, you just take the whole cardboard and slowly start moving it past everything. Stuff better get out of the way.
That's right. That's how you win the scenario. You got to get it off the board. That's Coruscant off the board. Community built scenario coming soon. I'm sure.
I think it might be a nightmare to actually physically try and say, all right, this giant capital ship cardboard now has to move underneath or past all these ships that are sitting where they're supposed to be on the mat.
I mean, if you're in the way of that thing, you're dead anyway. That's what you died. You died. Boom, 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 boom. Just start exploding
your ship
stuff.
was there. Don't bother marking it. It dead. Bye.
That's the easy way. That's the easy way to solve it. You just start removing ships on the board. All right, so Battle of Yavin, if you haven't given it a shot yet, consider it. I know that it's on my to-do list, and I know with Black Friday around the corner, that's the release date for the which pack? I know we have a couple coming out. Which one comes out this Friday?
This Friday, aka Black Friday, is supposed to be Hot Shots and Aces 2.
Oh snap!
And then the next Friday, December 2nd, is Siege of Coruscant.
All right, so we got double releases back to back. So get your Christmas list ready. Right up to Santa. Say, Santa baby, I need me some card packs.
And
Get them.
Make sure to pre-order from your LGS. Whether let the person know who's maybe gifting them to you for the holidays to pre-order. Because it seems like, as Dion mentioned early on, that he's been trying to keep an eye out for Battle of Yavin packs. There's not as many of them. If you pre-order, they're going to be there.
Yep.
If you're planning on doing it, just do it. It's easier for the stores. It's better for the stores because they know how much interest there is in those products at that point, and they can make sure they're stocked as releases come in the future. So the more you pre-order, the more you can obviously guarantee you're going to get it when you want it and have it, instead of having to worry about when the restocks are coming. And then that supports the LGSs and making sure they know immediately how many they need to order to make sure they fulfill the pre-orders on top of what they need on their shelves.
All right, Grimwolf03 did point out something. It has been a year. Maybe next episode, GSP shopping guide, bring it back.
For the holidays, right?
That's right. I think it's time. We'll bring it back next week. The premise, do we maybe do new player and experienced player? Something like that? Because I don't know. I feel like, especially with the card packs and things like that, things have changed. The way we have to view things. I know I was personally being I wanted to wait until the new beginner packs come out, new core sets.
I think maybe just on the timely purpose of it, we focus on the holiday end of things.
Yep.
And if you were trying to get a new player into it, gifting them some stuff on a holiday basis, but maybe not go all out. Or if you're gifting for someone who already has some stuff, how to make sure you're getting the right things. I don't know. I wouldn't go full blown like you're saying, because I do think it's worth waiting for like the real in depth to know when we get those starter packs, because they're supposed to be in 2023. Whether they're mid or later half, I don't know, but I feel like whether it's at Adepticon or a little after Worlds, I feel like that's where we might get like an actual physical visual announcement of those.
That would be the time to do it, to raise some hype. Crazy. World Championship, talk about new stuff. That never happened before.
That's for each faction that's supposed to have 4 ships in each box. It's a big deal. It's the first ever starter set style that miniature games normally have for each of their armies or factions.
I know. Tangent. In order for those to be successful in the long run, they have to make me want to buy them all.
Yeah, so yes, they'll be great for new players that want to get into the game, or people who haven't gotten into like one or two
specific
or more
faction.
factions. But man, if there's no reason for a current player to buy them, it's just going to be more conversion kits on the shelves later.
More, why didn't we sell more of these? I didn't have to. And I think you got to go
buy them.
You got to go past also just like, oh, but there's repainted ships. I'm like, I know a guy I could do that for probably cheaper. Right? Like that I don't think a repainted ship is the answer. AMG, if you're listening, I'm telling you, you got to make me want to buy it. Everything in there don't have to be new, but enough of it needs to be new where it's like, well, I have no way else to get that. People will complain about it. But like, how dare you make me want to do it? But that's good business. I'm telling you. All right.
How dare you make me spend more money on your product? Here's money. I'll spend money and have your product anyway.
You add some flappy wings to ships, and you know I'll be buying them as well. They can,
I would have never
get some
bought,
extra articulating models. Oof, that's the way to sell.
I never would have repurchased a second edition B-Wing unless it had all that articulation. That was so cool.
True. So, Nabi says, you totally would rebuy a painted ship. I mean, maybe. It depends. Oh, but here's the problem. Like, I have several X-Wings. I have several TIE fighters. You know, I got vultures for that. I got 3 variations on vultures. Right? Like, you gotta make me want to buy it. Okay. So, our next topic for today, our last topic for today, it's a bit of a brainstorm. The boys had asked me right before the show, was like, Dion, what's your plan for the next GSP event series? What are your plans? Part of me is waiting for software to be ready. Now, from my understanding, Roll Better is probably going to be the first solution that I end up going to for our first event series of 2023. And that supposedly next couple weeks should be ready to go. But I want to brainstorm a little bit. I want to brainstorm with you 3 as well as our people who are here on a weekly basis. They're here every Monday. You guys are a big part of our community. And those of you who listen every week as well, hit us up on Discord. Send me messages. I would love to know, what is it that you want to see? Let's talk about. Let's just have some conversations about what you want to see in an online event that would be interesting, and or especially if you've never played in an online event, make it so that you're like, you know, I would participate if X. So I'm gonna start. I want to yeet it first to Will. Whoop. Will, you've been doing some cool stuff on Wednesday nights with the title fights and things like that. You and James. What are you got any thoughts for me?
So you're looking for ways to bring in someone into the online tournament scene?
Yeah. What do you want? If I handed you the reins and say, all right, Will, you could do whatever you want, go crazy, what would you do?
Oh man, blank check. Oof.
Blank. What do you want?
I mean, it's gonna have to be something memorable. I want to I can't even say it. Commemorative. I want something very event specific. Does that make sense? I want to know. Right. I want to know. The token or the card has to have a story behind it. It has to be for this event.
So you want some something like not quite narrative, but something thematic.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Ryan? What would float your boat? What will tickle your fancy?
Well, it's a little difficult because, like, on a personal level, a lot of what stops me from playing the online events is even though it's still just like a full day thing, whether I'm in person or online. It's still when I'm at home, I feel like I'm more of a person that would want to make sure I'm keeping an eye on Ollie, trying to do stuff around the house, yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
So, oddly enough, more on the league side of things, like not a full day event, something that I can invest less time in a single day to do, whether it's only one game or two games. Or that type of thing can be executed league based or team based when you need to get matches done for a round per week type of thing. Like when I think XTC and other team events have done this very similarly online, where they do their matchups and pairings, they figure out who has to play who based upon their pairing system that they set up for the event, and then you just need your games done by X day before the week is over type of thing. That also can work well for a not a whole day's worth of commitment for an online thing. So if it were me and it's something that I would be more likely to play in, it would be not a whole day event thing. It would be when I could choose in some capacity what day I can play throughout the week and find the best time in coordination with whoever I'm playing against.
All right, that makes sense. Go for it.
Can I add on something? Something you said of the team-based aspect of it. That actually makes me think of what was that samurai card game? Legend of the Ten Rings.
Legend of the
Five Rings.
5 Rings, yeah.
5 Rings. Yeah, L5R. That's right.
L5R.
They always amped up their like faction identity as well. We've obviously been doing like top end faction, but really, and then like seemed like, well, Rebels did do so good in this cut. Maybe something more to where like you could represent your faction more in that aspect, and I actually have like an overall faction winner.
That could be interesting. We have to find a way to incentivize or try and level the playing field faction-wise. Whether it's by the actual amount of people playing in each faction, or whether it's if there's less people playing in the faction, not as many people need to do as good to even it out. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like, not specifically, but as an example, when we commonly look at cut rates, they sometimes end up higher for some of the factions that have less people, because the people who are invested in those factions have put in more time, or they've been with those factions for a long time, so their preparation or their experience lends itself to them doing a little better. Not saying that's how it's always going to translate, but we can see those win rates or cut rates be higher with less popularity sometimes. So
can I share
in some way that could balance it out, where you don't always need like, okay, we need 10 people in this faction, 10 people in this faction, 10 people, because it's someone's not going to be as happy about what they're playing.
So can I share an idea that I had, and I don't know, and part of it, my hesitation is what you were saying there. I had this idea that I was kind of knocking around as faction wars, okay? And here's the idea. You play 7 games, all right, 7 games, and you must play 1 faction per game. So you get to go through all the factions. And you have I don't know how the matchups would go. Do you choose which one? Do I say, all right, listen, because it's a completely different feel. I'll say, all right, to this week, everybody's playing Rebels. Everybody's playing this. If everybody was playing, for lack of a better term, mirror matches, potential mirror matches, but you know that your only potential field is scum and villainy, right? You only have to worry about things from scum. So how does that change the meta? Or my other idea would be essentially different of whether it be league or something like that, but basically trying to find a a winner for each faction by having people only play a single faction. Is that too weird? Is that too niche? Too specific? What do you think, Marcel?
I mean, it depends if you're talking about like an extended. And I've been in a tournament like that already. So somebody has done it, and it was actually pretty fun. Where the rules that they had, I don't remember who it was. I believe it was somebody from South America. But the rules that they had was basically you have your ship, your factions that you chose. And I don't think that we did 7 rounds. I think it was probably like 5 factions. You chose your factions, and then you chose at the beginning of, like, when you played your game, you revealed only one, and that was what. So your opponent didn't know what you were flying. You didn't. They didn't. You didn't know. They didn't know what you were flying, and you just showed up and you said, "This is my faction for the day." And then that was eliminated, so you can use that faction again for the rest of the tournament. And by the time you get to the final event, you would be able to know, like, oh, my opponent has not used this, so I know my opponent's going to have that. And then you build your list because it wasn't like you didn't submit a list; you just had a faction. So, and then the final round, if you were Rebels and you were playing against Empire, you're like, well, I probably don't want an Alpha because it's probably going to have Iden in there or something like that, you know? It was fun. So I think that would be fun, but again, it would be a long format, not a. I don't like the thought of having, like, oh, we're going to have a Rebel tournament today, so you're going to play 5 rounds of Rebels on Rebels on Rebels on Rebels. Like it just sounds miserable.
Yeah, and that's why I'm trying to gauge. Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to figure out what works. You know what I mean? Or what are what of my crazy ideas actually would be fun versus fun in concept versus fun in execution.
Yeah, but I think I like the idea of like a game a week. Similar to kind of like a league format, or similar to an XTC format, where every week you get your matchup, and then there's a way to submit, what faction you flew, and then your result, and then you just eliminate so 7 factions, you're done, and then at the end, you have a winner or a group of undefeated people. That depends on how many people sign up, that will play it out. And if you, I don't know. So anyway, so that's one. Now, as far as like, what do you want, or what would be fun? For more of the competitive side or the invested side. So I would say both. For the competitive and the invested, because think about it like a loyalty program, right? We've got people that see us on YouTube consistently, people that are here today, Lambolo, and there's people that follow us on a regular basis that are just engaged. So I would love to see a kind of a non-official, not serious prize listing or ranking of people's combination of mixing the competitiveness with the loyalty side of it. So basically, you get if you participate in not just a tournament, like any of these things that are being mentioned now, whether it's a league, a tournament, a team event, if you participate in a Gold Squadron hosted
event,
online thing, you get your participation prize. For a win, you get, not a participation prize, your participation point. So you get a point for participating. For winning 3 games, you get 3 more points. For winning the entire thing, you get like a bonus 5 or something like that. Just to do similar to the way that we're competing for, like the choose your champion poll and voting. Like, it's basically, if you participate more, you have more likelihood of winning. So it's not necessarily who's the best player, or who's the best player throughout the year.
Okay.
It's probably more of like who's the most consistent player, and the consistent, it doesn't just have to be who wins the most.
Right.
Is who is the most engaged, who participates the most, and who, probably, if there's 5 people that participated in everything, then it becomes which of those people actually performed the best during that year. So
I like that. So like a
loyalty program
slash. I see what you're saying.
but,
Like
but a little competition to it, because you might only have time to participate in 3, but if you win those 3 events, like let's say Crispy, he didn't participate in all of them, he won 2.
Right.
That's 5 bonus points twice. That's 10 points. That's like participating in 10 events. Like there's a way for the people that don't have, like Ryan, who don't have the opportunity to participate in so many because there's life things that responsibilities. Then you just have to show up and do really well on the ones that you do.
I like this. This seems like an interesting way to potentially bring back / reuse the idea of the the Flight Club Championships type of thing over a longer period of time, but it's like it's the game within the game, if that makes sense. I like that idea. Let's take some peeks at the chat here. Let's see what we got here. So Lambolo had mentioned store managers of Star Wars Geek generated some engagement goals, bounties on winning players, accomplish a goal, basically some type of an achievement list is what it sounds like, right? Some type of achievement list. That could be cool. And we did something like that at Pastimes one time. It got a little hard to create all of the achievements, but they got pretty ridiculous as to what you were trying to do.
Hard to manage. I think it was every because it's basically all based on self-reporting.
Right. Yeah, I did everything. Let's see. Somebody says a 7-round series seems good from Robert Crater. Okay, can I ask a question? Prizes. If I said an event was completely free, you didn't have to pay anything, nothing at all. We're going to organize it. We do everything. Do they matter? Or maybe the second question is, how much do matter? So what I'm asking here is, because I will tell you, prizes for online events are the biggest logistical nightmare, hurdle, and problem. Hands down. 100%. If I didn't have to deal with prizes, we would have so significantly more events. We can get things going, especially league style stuff. We could keep that rolling all the time. In your guys' opinions, I'd like to hear your opinions. How important are prizes? Because we're starting to get to, I know for an experienced X-Wing player, I feel like we're starting to get to a saturation point where simple prizes may not be. I don't know. What do you think, Will?
I was actually kind of thinking about this for, overall, I think a free tournament where you could optionally pay for prizes if you would so choose to. Like the templates looked amazing, I only want to play, but I would rather pay for the templates, and then if you end up, getting high enough for, unlocking them, you wouldn't have to pay for them, maybe. But that, what Marcel was saying was, I was almost thinking it would be like a prize wall if you were looking at it that way, to where you could potentially, at the end of the tournament, you could cash in your points earned, maybe, to pick the one thing you actually want off of like the for the tournament.
I have thoughts. If you guys move to another topic, I'll come back. But I got a quick honeydew that I got to honeydew.
Go for it.
No worries. So like that could be an option, but to me, obviously I have a lot of X-Wing stuff. So like it is always like the unique token or the unique like template set that really pulls me in. If it's something like the turn counters, really nice to have. I mean, mats are obviously like super nice, but that's a whole other level of production value. But I think you understand what I'm saying, to where it's like that's what I was saying about like the commemorative, like the prizes mean a lot more if it's something that you were actually like striving for, you know what I mean? Like, oh man, I really want those templates. Or even like the plastic card for top whatever, right? If that what draws you in, maybe having a way to guarantee that you can get that prize, pay the gold price maybe, versus like basically feeling bad for not being, what do I say? There's a lot of people who I know who go to tournaments who are like, man, they're just on the cusp, right? Like they're like 3-3, or like the 3-2 player who are like, they're so close, like they could be cut every single time, but like, you know, more often than not, they don't. So then, like I said, that could be an advantageous way. I'm not sure how. What do I want to say? Just like the pure free option would work. I mean, I guess anybody could just sign up and play. Then if you just came for the experience, would be the other option.
Right. Like I know bragging rights have definitely a swagger to them, right? It's like I did this, you didn't, right? And that's what I'm trying to balance that. Ryan, where are you at price wise?
So I think there's a chance you might get more people interested, just for the fact that some people who might want to jump in, try out a list they wanted to use, or test something out heading into a live event in the near future for them. You might get more drops from an event when they're knocked out.
Right.
I don't know what's your average at this point, like how many people actually hang around even though they've been mathematically eliminated by graduated cut standards. But you might get more people interested in at least dropping in for the day, trying out a list, and not feel too committed when they have to pay for it. Which can have its pros and cons, right? You might have a lot of drop off later, but that might make your job a little easier, but maybe a little more to manage depending on how your software has handled drops and everything, which I assume shouldn't be too bad.
An easy counter to that would be an incentive to play all your games, whatever kind of reward or like I said, incentive to encourage people not to drop.
Right.
I think if we're going off the premise that if you're playing for free, you're probably not getting prizes, it's going to be hard to incentivize that, I guess. But there's at least maybe a little more incentive to actually playing in the event, because there's no full monetary commitment, it's just time. But whether or not, like, the ability to have prizes in an event that still allows people free, that whole, you could have an entry, you'll get guaranteed some mostly participation prizes, and and this is where it gets maybe a little muddy for you, Dion, is does it become basically pay for prizes, as in like you can pay for these cool alt arts that we made for participation purposes only, and there won't be any like top tier prizes, because I know you need to financially figure out and break down what of the top ranking prizes you can even give out based upon the amount of people who actually do pay for it.
Right.
So you can
that's
make as much incentivization as you want, but if you don't get people to show up, you can't guarantee certain items and things for a top 16, a top 8, a top 4, and a finals type of.
right. And when it comes to, I tried as much as possible, to try to self-insulate for costs and things like that. And I mean, I've been very open about it. We've lost money on every single event that we have run when it comes to the finances, with prizes, shipping, and staffing. And what I'm trying to do is like, you know what? So much of it ends up being shipping and shipping time, and then also production. And then there ends up being waste in production because you have to produce a certain amount beforehand and all this stuff. It's like, what if, it's one of those where it's like, with the scale that I want to do it, if we can just eliminate as much of the wasted time and money and say, listen, maybe we make some prizes available. I'm going to use the word kind of like make on demand type of participation. It's like, all right, we created this series of stuff. Like, here's an idea. So we create a logo design kind of thing for this series. And for anybody who wants to, if you want to kind of commemorate your participation in this, you can get this stuff, hook up with maybe somebody like Andrew from Curl Paw, say, listen, here's the design. People can order it off of Curl Paw, but you can only order it during when this series is happening. And then that's it type of thing. And just make it quick and simple. We get some digital versions of cards, like commemorative cards. Like, I will tell you, I had a blast making this year's Galaxies cards, and that was a great time. And those can be very easily digitized and brought into the game, and can be a way to commemorate a person who did well in an event.
I think doing a lot more digital based prizes that essentially only require a time investment, and maybe a smaller monetary investment, because you're not shipping, you're not producing, but you may be paying an artist for work on something only, but just so you can produce it in a digital manner via TTS. Maybe you could integrate some of your prizing to something special in Discord, or if you're a patron member and you participate in an event, you unlock something else in some capacity. I don't know, but like something that doesn't add your shipping to this cost.
So I'm gonna jump in a little bit.
Hit me.
And I don't know what William and you guys were talking about while I was doing my run, and we can talk about it afterwards as well. Cause
Sure.
There's a lot of things that you can do, and even in the realm of, like, again, it's about getting people excited about the game. It's about getting people playing in person, but we're focusing on online right here in this conversation, and that's part of where my head was going in this competitive loyalty thing, like just getting people to participate and do more often, and rewarding them for doing so. And some of the things that some of these stores, local, what are they called? Local friendly, LFG, whatever they call it.
FLGS.
Thank you. What these stores have been doing for forever in order to kind of bankroll, because they're small businesses and they're trying to basically push engagement and push the game and eventually get people to just participate more. And then if they participate more, the stores benefit out of their participating more. Like it's kind of a cycle, right? Like you got to feed it a little bit, and just borrowing into some of that, and then also just from a business perspective, build. And again, to not get too deep into like the business side of it, because that's kind of like your business with your partners and your vendors, but basically just to strengthen up those relationships with your sponsors. We're talking about District Foundry, Curl Paw, anybody else that becomes sponsors these events, especially if these events start becoming free.
Snuggles?
Honeydew. Dion's got a honeydew also.
Sorry, I'm listening.
No. You take care of it. I'll keep talking. Anyway, if you start doing events that are free, and there's still an expectation of, kind of getting some type of, what am I playing this for? For
Right.
fun, yeah. But then you have people drop off after 1 or 2 rounds, like Ryan was saying. Is what you can do is guarantee prizes for a top X. Usually it'll be like a top 4 or a top 8, right? Like
Right.
top 4 will get these templates, top 8 will get these cards. If you fail in the round of 16, there's not too bad, so sad you're gone. It's kind of building on this competitive and loyalty program where, if there's a buy-in, that buy-in doesn't go into that price support for that specific event. So you're not making, those little metal things for every single event and spending the cost up front for it. Is okay. You're paying $10 to participate in this event. That $10 is going into your credit. Like, you have credit, and then you're building out. They have store credit. Your store, the Gold Squadron store, is limited. Like, you get some T-shirts, you get some things.
Right.
So there's a limited incentive in how much you can get from a store credit in your store. But if you connect it with your partners, and again, everybody kind of benefits from it. Like, hey, you're getting store credit, you bought into it, so that's kind of cash that's yours. It's your gift card. You can redeem it at the Pearl Call Creative store at a 15% or 25%, whatever their deal is, cost. So if they spent $10 with you, they get $12.50, or they spent $10 to participate in the event, they get $12.50 towards Curled Paw Creative swag for that event. And then if they go further, you can even do like the way that stores do it. Like, the further you go, the bigger your pool gets. So like, first place will get $50,
Right.
not in actual dollars, but in credit that they could redeem at Gold Squadron store or at the vendors that are sponsoring the events for the year. And again, I don't want to get too deep because you can,
Yeah, I see where you're going, though. It makes sense.
Because then you can like work that out into your negotiations with your sponsors, being like, hey, now it's not just about sponsoring and getting your name out there, but actually people are going to redeem what they spent in the tournament at your store, and then maybe that 15% discount can become a 30% discount because there's kind of a bigger push for them to get stuff back. Maybe we can talk about it when we do Battle of Yavin, but I got different ideas and stuff that I've done at other places.
All right, that sounds good, and I appreciate the brainstorm, because this is something that I'll be honest, it's just become unsustainable. It's we're with my current method, which my current method is do what I think is cool and not worry about the cost. But then when it's time to do bookkeeping, I go, oh, what have I done?
So let's yeah, and just so people don't mistake what I was saying.
Yeah.
The entire point of everything is to get more people to play the game that we play, to get more people to engage in the stuff that we engage, to get more people to watch and do things, and the things that we enjoy doing, which is podcasting, streaming, and participating in these events in a way that is not either taking up all of your time because you're in your basement, putting labels yourself physically,
Right.
or in a way that is basically making you go broke. You got another mouth to feed in here, so
I do. I just recently went +1.
literally. So the point is not about like how do we make the most money. It's how do we do it? How do we make it so people can participate, but without and still get prizes? They choose their own prizes. But at the same time, it doesn't kind of bog you down with like having to order a bunch of stuff. Like, I'm going to order 500 of this stuff, and then you only have 250 people participate. It's
Right.
like, oh. And then if you do it too soon, then you're like, well, I'm going to order on demand when we find out how many people show up.
Right.
But then people are getting their prices like 6 months late, especially with like logistics being the way they are these days.
Fun. All right. Well, with that, I have lots of ideas. We talked about Battle of Yavin. Worlds is around the corner, and next week we're going to bring you the Gold Squadron buying guide for holiday 2022. It's happening. Is your Christmas tree up yet? Are you waiting? Here's my question. Let's see. Mine's been up since November 1st. I know I'm a crazy person. Marcel, when's the holiday decorations going up?
I actually am considering not putting any tree up this year.
Sacre bleu. What?
I threw out my tree from last year because it was just getting old and beat up. And one of the cats ate one of the little things on it, and we ended up spending $1,000 to get his stomach pumped. So I'm like, maybe a tree is not a good idea.
True. Makes sense. Well, but maybe some lights. You need some. I got lights. You need lights. I got lights.
I might do like some lights around the windows or something. Or maybe.
All right. Cool. I'll accept it. Will?
Was my tree going up?
Or at least when's the decorate? Like, even if you got like a single like Happy Holidays sign. I don't know. I don't know how you decorate, man.
I don't.
The snow outside. That's my decorations.
I put up. I normally help Alyssa. She's got some Christmas decorations going up, so she gets real festive, and I normally get her something for the decorating. But no, at my bachelor pad, no.
All right. So then, when's the tree trimming at Alyssa's? Did it happen already?
No, not yet.
All right.
Not yet. Probably
Soon.
after Thanksgiving.
After Thanksgiving.
Like a normal person, you know.
I know I'm crazy. I never said I was normal. Ryan?
So because Ali has his first birthday coming up, and we need all the space in the world, our house, to be able to host not one party, we're doing two because we need to separate because we don't have enough room. Like, we have a nice porch and like a canopy and like extra tables, but his birthday's in December, so it doesn't really work out to be outside.
Right.
When it comes for like whenever he graduates anything or wants to celebrate in like spring, summer, or fall, no problem.
Done.
We'll have like plenty of people. Easy. But seating in the house, a little more difficult. So to make sure we have space and people don't feel like claustrophobic or anything, we split. We're having two separate parties and splitting up. You know, our families. We're one set of families.
You're an A person. You're a B person. You're an A person. You're a B. No, you and Grandma fight too much. You're an A person. You're a B person. Smart. That's smart. So
yeah, we're to keep it a little bit lighter. Around 15-ish or maybe a little more per. So that's like the first 2 weekends of December for us. So because space-wise, we need that space. I don't want to put up a tree yet until later afterward, after all his birthday celebrations done. So the earliest we're probably putting up a tree is December 17th or 18th. Which is probably exactly the weekend, because otherwise we're putting it up the weekend of Christmas.
That makes sense. I mean, I over here. I got a kid born November 13th, and I'm always I'm considering. I was like, can we put the Christmas tree up November 1st now, or do I have to give her like a week buffer? But I don't know. Do we just condition her to be like, hey, listen, there's always a Christmas tree up on your birthday. That's just part of the festivities. Right? Like, she's the kickoff to the holiday season. I don't know. I have a lot to figure out there.
For Christmas tree. So, Ali or no Ali, we generally didn't do any Christmas tree till after Thanksgiving.
Makes sense. I know I'm the crazy one, but that's okay. That's why I do what I do. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out. I have a little baby to help with, and for all of you at home, Be smart, be safe, stay warm. And Buffalo, are you guys okay?
Hopefully.
Gold Squadron. Ow.